Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. Man, do we have a show for you tonight. Finally making it onto the podcast, Rich Scarcella from the Reading Eagle will be joining us. We have breaking news regarding linebacker Tony Rojas, and we will preview and predict Penn State's matchup this Saturday at 3:30 Eastern against the UCLA Bruins. All that and more in just 1 second. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Corey Listoki. With me, as always, the great Sean Kane. How you doing today, Sean?
Not too bad, Corey. I was just watching the Yankees, and Red Sox just blew the lead to the Red Sox, so they're tied right now. But overall, not doing too bad. And then I got Tony Rojas news, and I was like, "Come on, man!"
Back-to-back news. Unfortunately for me, although I'm not a huge baseball guy, we have another person on the show tonight who is kind of keeping tabs on that Yankees score. Welcome to the show, Rich Scarcella of the Reading Eagle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. A little buggy-eyed, a little tired from the travel out here, but all things considered, pretty good.
So you've already made it out to the West Coast. I mean, what are your plans? We're recording this on Wednesday night. You've got a couple of days out there. What else are you going to get into out there?
Yeah, my younger son lives out here, and so that's where I'm doing this from is his apartment, and it's only about a 10-minute drive from the Rose Bowl. It's great, and we're headed tonight, Wednesday, to the Dodgers playoff game against the Reds.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I think I speak for most people in Pennsylvania and hoping the Reds don't do anything. So hopefully that game is not too close. Rich, we have a lot to talk about. You've been on the beat for a long time. In a certain degree, I think James Franklin appreciates you and respects you. And I think this was the perfect time to have you on the podcast because I think a lot of the Penn State fans, the sky is falling yet again. Even for Sean and I, who are more Franklin defenders, kind of think of this as a potential straw that's breaking the camel's back. If not, it's at least beginning to be strained. Can you offer some perspective here? Or can you talk us off the cliff? Or are you right by it? Are you hand in hand with us about the jump off?
No. I think, how do I put this? Is it near a breaking point with the fans? Yes. I don't think there's any question about that. I remember I was on a radio show in August. Might have been Sirius, the Big Ten channel. I can't remember, but regardless. And somebody asked me, what do you think will happen if this is before the season, if Penn State loses to Oregon? I said, it'll be the end of the world. And I said, if they win, they'll be crowned national champions by a lot of the fan base. If it wasn't for Franklin's track record in these kind of games, you'd be like, yeah, it was a really tough game. But it's the weirdest thing. It's like it's something different almost a lot of these games. But I think there is one theme, and it's that they haven't been able to move the football consistently in games like this. And I'm not talking about the Big Ten championship game. I'm not talking about the playoff run. I wrote a column that we posted today. If you looked at 7 of the last 8 games last season after Ohio State, they ran for 189 yards at least in 7 of them. And you're like, I don't know which one of you posted it, but I'm told that's kind of what was the origin of my column. Is this because Sal Wormley was so valuable, or is this because Frank Leonard was such a force? It's mind-boggling to think that offensive line, it's basically the same one, is the same as this offensive line, which to me, that's where all the problems on offense are stemming from. I mean, that's my opinion. I know we could debate that, but I think Drew Aller was pressured on 55% of his passes Saturday night. I mean, you can't live like that. And maybe, call me biased, but Nick Singleton has hardly had any room to run. And that, Katron Allen has. He's looked good. Don't get me wrong. This isn't taking anything away from Katron. But Nick Singleton just suddenly didn't get bad. And I compared it in the column. Nick's averaging 3.8 yards a carry. You know what Saquon Barkley's averaging? 3.1 this year. It happens. They have to find a way to get back on track or get on track this week against UCLA, a program that's in complete disarray.
Rich, I think Sean said this on the Monday show. You talked about a lot of those games, these big games where the offense has struggled. Sean made the point the other day, we have struggled offensively regardless of who the offensive coordinator is. Now, I don't want to go down the meddling conversation, yes, but Penn State fans are trying to understand, trying to figure out, why is offense so hard? Like, it's not that complicated of a thing, and yet for some reason, Penn State, regardless of the offensive coordinator seems to become anemic when it matters most.
Yeah, I mean, I go back, I think about all the games in the 90s. I remember that one Michigan game in 97. And now this is totally different, but again, it's the offensive struggles in these big games. And it has continued with James Franklin when Penn State has been good. I'm not talking about in 14 and 15. I'm talking about once Penn State started getting better. I don't have an answer. I think the answer, people inside Lash Building have to know the answer. But to me, what these eyes are seeing, how can you not dominate Nevada, Florida International, Villanova? You couldn't get 500 yards against any of those teams. You struggled in the red zone where the running game is so important against those teams. I don't care if they're putting 9 or 10 guys in the box. You have to be able to run against teams like that. And that was a warning sign. And a lot of us were saying, hey, let's see what they do against Oregon. But the warning signs were there. I don't understand it. But you're right. It's been a trend. I mean, you look at the games against Ohio State and the games against Michigan that they lost, the offense has mostly been the problem. And I'm talking about over the last 5 years, 6 years, whatever it may be. And I don't know. I mean, it's 109 yards of offense for 3 quarters on Saturday night, and you're supposed to be a championship contender. And then the fourth quarter, they look completely different. It looked like it was a new team, the way they were able to move the football. So I wish I had an answer, but there's no doubt it's been an ongoing theme in these games, especially against Ohio State and Michigan, and now Saturday night.
I think, too, I got to think Franklin's feeling the heat. And when you're the head coach of Penn State, any loss, you're going to feel some heat. But I think he's really feeling it now because they all knew inside of Lash how big this game was. For the fans, especially.
Everything.
And the only time I could really think, Rich, that his back was against the wall truly was after the Michigan game in 2016. And we went out and won the Big Ten. Do you think there's any chance they could have some kind of turnaround like that where, because they really, in the losses since then, it never really feels like they get better or grow from losses, at least mid-season. Do you think we might be able to see that this year?
Yes. I think is it possible? Yes. You gotta, but it's gotta start up front. I hate to pick on things, but you're trying Anthony Donko at guard, and maybe he's not a guard. I don't know. I've never coached football, but it seems to me that he played really well as a tackle last year before he got hurt. They've got to figure it out before Iowa. That's for sure. Because if you get into a 16-13 game out there, you don't know which way it's going to go. And they've got to figure it out before then. I think it's possible they can turn it around. I saw a couple of the national pundits say that, their season's not over. But it's not the loss. It's the way they looked for those first 3 quarters that you're just you're scratching your head. And you remember they moved the football against Notre Dame. Boise, SMU, Oregon, and so on. And this is basically the same offense with the exception, big exception, of Tyler Warren, who wasn't really asked to block that much.
That to me points all of this to be psychological, Rich. I just feel like, Franklin has the guys. We see all these guys go to the NFL and be productive, and you're going to go, wait a second, why are they that good in the NFL? Mm-hmm. And a lot of other teams with a little bit less talent still every once in a while, reach up and grab somebody and pull them down. They have the athletes to do a lot more than what they showed the last 3 quarters. And I know it because they did it in the 4th quarter. So I don't know what it is. We talked about this a little bit on Monday about, the game against Michigan in 2022, where they came out and they looked so tight and they just literally it almost looked like they were scared to be there. And that to me, like, I think this is psychological at some point. Like, you're right. These are the same guys.
I think that's a part of it for sure. You can't deny that it's if it's not in the players' heads, it's certainly in Franklin's head. I mean, that he wouldn't be human if it wasn't in his head. You know what I'm saying? It would be in my head. I know that. But I think it's more than that. I think they couldn't, they really couldn't move the football for 3 quarters. That's not psychological. That's execution, mistakes, whatever. Maybe Oregon was simply better physically up front. I interviewed Todd Blackledge last Tuesday, and that was his first key of the game. He wants to watch how Oregon's defensive line does against Penn State's running game because they added bulk. And you look at the 3 points they scored in the first half. On 2 of those passes, Aller was like falling on his backside, and Singleton, made a terrific run after the catch on 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 16 to get the 4th and 1, and then they converted. I mean, they couldn't do anything offensively for the first 3 quarters, and that to me it is partly psychology, but I think it's more about we got to take a look at this. We got to. I don't know I don't know if it's are guys blowing assignments, are they screwing up plays, are they getting beat physically? I think maybe all 3.
The good news for Penn State is they will be facing a UCLA team that is allowing 232 yards per game on the ground. That is 4th worst in the country behind Kent State, Georgia Southern, and Eastern Michigan. If they can't get the running game going against UCLA, forget about Iowa, forget about Ohio State, forget about even Indiana, forget about even maybe Nebraska. They've got to be able to show that they can run the ball on the road at UCLA. Rich, I want to ask you, is Franklin mentioned this tonight in his little press huddle. He said it's a good week to get out of state college. You've seen teams that have been able to maybe come together, unify a little bit. I mean, is this one of those moments where you lose a game, everyone's down against you, everyone in state college is kind of looking at you, and this is an opportunity for them to get out of Dodge and realize that the only people they really have is each other?
I think it's a perfect setting for that. You're coming out here early. They're expected to leave Thursday out of Harrisburg, spend an extra day here just for acclimation. And it's only 70, whatever the roster limit is these days in the Big Ten. And it's friends and family, and that's it. And I think I do think that this could be a real positive. I think there's some frank talks needed inside Lash Building, whether it's coaches to players, players to players, whatever, coaches to coaches. I think some, you need to hash these things out. And if somebody needs to get chewed out, let them get chewed out. Too bad for hurt feelings. This is big boy sports. This isn't, this isn't, I hate to say this, it's not Division III football here or junior high football going the other direction. This is big boy football. if somebody's feelings get hurt, too bad. But you got to get this stuff off your chest, because you could see, somebody said they're not having fun. Well, when you have success, you have fun. And so I'm not going to read that into it. But if there's something built up, you got to say it. And it doesn't have to be in front of us, but say it behind closed doors and say it to each other. Hey, we can't go on like this. And I think Franklin, there were a couple points in the Monday press conference. I think he was getting to that about, he doesn't throw players under the bus, but, he said when I asked him about the offensive line, he said, they've been inconsistent just like the rest of the offense. But then he said, like they have been all year. So that's where I think the focus should be. And then Aller, Singleton, the wide receivers, the tight ends, that all will result from the offensive line playing well. But we'll see.
Yeah, and then I wanted to switch gears a little bit to with the defense, with the loss of Tony Rojas for this significant period of time. How do you think that's going to change the defense now that we're going to be seeing, obviously, a heavier workload from Dom DeLuca? And then after that, it's kind of a question mark. I guess Specca was the first guy in after those first three guys last week. So how do you think that's going to change things?
Well, I thought when Jim Knowles 2 weeks ago during the bye week didn't mention Specca, didn't mention Keon Wiley, let's go down the list, and he mentioned Alex Tatch. That was pretty telling that they were still looking for backups behind the top three. I don't know what we're going to see. I know this. Dom's going to start. There's no doubt about that. And I think, I love Dom DeLuca. He's such a playmaker. He's always in the right spot. I think against teams like Oregon and Ohio State, I don't know how athletic, how that works out. I think they needed more Ross. That doesn't mean he shouldn't play at all. I'm just saying, playing 50 or 60 snaps. I'm not sure of that. I wonder if they're going to move a Zion Tracy down, to get snaps at that position, or DeJuan Lane or somebody, from the secondary who they have more faith in. But it's a blow. You can't slice it any other way. It's a blow to the Penn State defense, which has played very, very, very well. Rojas, I think he got shortchanged last year because he dealt with that injury all year, and he still had a pretty good year, and he didn't miss a start. And then he had the surgery. If this is a really, you hear rumors, you see rumors. If this is in fact a knee injury, he's going to miss spring practice. And I'm thinking he probably was thinking about coming out after this year, as a 3-year player. So I don't know how that impacts him. And I feel awful for him, especially since it apparently happened in practice. It's terrible. It's really awful. And I think that's why you pay Jim Knowles the big money. He's got to figure that out, how to adjust after an injury like this.
Yeah, they're going to be more of a 4-2-5 than they have ever wanted to be. There's no doubt about that.
Great point.
Franklin did mention in the huddle today that he mentioned Tash as far as potential green light. He also brought up Cam Smith. So again, to Rich's point, maybe skipping over some other names and getting to maybe some of the younger guys instead, which leads to wonder where that depth really is right now. One other thing that I thought was interesting from today that I wanted to ask you about before we get into maybe UCLA here to wrap things up with you. King Mack got all of the reps at the other safety spot opposite of Zakee Wheatley. We thought that was relatively close. I'm sort of surprised that it can go from Antoine Belgrave Shorter starting the first game to King Mack starting and playing all of the reps. And then today, asking about his play again, or King Mack's play, Franklin said that the competition's still going, but there's a gap right now. Otherwise, he wouldn't have played all 82 reps. So I don't know how he goes from not starting in the Nevada game to getting all the reps and now still ahead, given the fact that I don't think he had a very good game against Oregon in the run or necessarily in the pass.
He had one hit, and that was it. But I agree with you. I thought Tracy played really, really well.
I thought Tracy did too.
The nickel, and Zaki did. It doesn't add up. And then you start, and I hate to suggest this, but was there a discipline issue, like a minor discipline issue, that he didn't start the first game? And maybe, but I know Knowles really liked the way Belgrave Shorter was practicing in August. So, but it makes no sense that he didn't play one down on Saturday. That's just hard to believe. So I don't know, but yeah, you're right. It wasn't like he was dominating play. You would think, okay, just to take a breather, put Belgrave Shorter in. I don't know. I wish. That's a great question.
The defensive line, Rich, did not come up with a sack against Oregon. Obviously, people are going to talk about the holding. I think Dante Moore did a great job extending plays. I would say coming out of the first 3 games, we were feeling pretty good about the defensive line. We thought maybe they had more depth than we initially thought. We thought maybe the defensive tackles had stepped up. Pretty underwhelming performance from them. They were bullied around a little bit. They weren't able to get any. I think Sean Fitz said the other day that it was the least amount of TFLs in James Franklin's tenure at Penn State. Yeah. I mean, are you recalibrating a little bit when it comes to Penn State defense line?
No, actually
Oregon's offense line is just that good.
Number one, Dante Moore is special. He's very special. He's very, very good. Yes, holding was let go. They didn't call it all night. Either way, which is on the flip side. If Penn State, if you don't see holding calls being called, then hold. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to adjust. Okay,
I was saying that the whole night.
Yeah, back to the Penn State defensive line. What Oregon did, Moore rarely dropped more than 2 or 3 steps. It was always, he got rid of the ball in a hurry. The other thing they did, in addition to that, to counter Penn State's pass rush, they ran a lot of counters, if you noticed, with their running game. And it kept Penn State off balance because you had guys going upfield and then they were running the counter to that side. I don't think it was more that they were physically beaten up as much as I thought it was a great game plan. And I am not, despite the numbers and even deny Dennis-Sutton said after the game, we didn't have any sacks. I'm not worried. I think the defensive line is fine. And I look at Chaz Campbell. Yeah, I knew he was going to say that. Chaz Coleman forced a fumble that may or may not have been a fumble. I still can't believe that was overturned from the call on the field. So he made a contribution. I see him getting better and better and his star rising and rising as this season goes on. So no, I wouldn't say that. I didn't leave the game thinking, boy, that defensive line was terrible. I didn't think that.
Gotcha. UCLA, Rich, we're gonna let you get out of here in a couple minutes. They are just in complete turmoil. I think Franklin said today he's never seen anything quite like it. Obviously, they let go of Deshaun Foster earlier this year. They bring in a defensive coordinator, but really a defensive analyst from Syracuse. And as of just, I don't know if it's today or yesterday, they have a new offensive coordinator now too, promoting the tight ends coach. Complete mess over there right now.
I think the whole program is in complete disarray. I mean, you'll see, I don't know if you've watched any of their earlier games. It's a lot of family and friends kind of crowds. And you're like sitting here, it's the Rose Bowl. There were some Rose Bowl reps tailgating near where I park. And somebody asked them like how many fans they expected for this game. And they were like, oh, we think we're going to get 50,000. I would be shocked if they got 50,000. Their crowds have been announced as in the 30s. I'll be surprised if it's 40. Yeah, it's a mess.
$34 right now.
What's that?
I think the tickets are like $30 right now.
Yeah.
That's in LA.
I'm surprised it's that expensive. So, I mean, I think as somebody who grew up watching the UCLA USC game every year, Thanksgiving weekend on ABC with Chris Schenkel calling the game, that's how old I am. I can't believe how far this program has fallen. It's stunning to me. So it's a shame because USC owns this town as far as college football goes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Are you giving them much of a chance, or you think Penn State kind of gets back on track this weekend?
I think Penn State gets back on track. I do. I can't imagine. I got to think for what you said. They're traveling together. That's going to be good. Get away. They're angry. Take it out on UCLA. I think Penn's. I haven't sat down and dissected the numbers. I can't believe Penn State wouldn't win in a big way.
All right. One thing we try to ask: do you have maybe a random bold prediction for us? Maybe some player that makes a play, or a stat that you think maybe stands out to you? Put you on the spot
on Saturday.
Yeah,
on Saturday. Huh. That's a good question. Random. Well, I don't know if it's random, but I have a feeling Kyron Hudson is going to have a good game because he's home. That's another, he's home, and I have a feeling, he's playing UCLA. He hates UCLA. I have a feeling he's going to have a very nice game.
That's a great point, Rich. I wouldn't have ever even thought about that. Kyron Hudson's been kind of on the wrong end of a lot of hate as of late, and so that's a good homecoming maybe game for Kyron Hudson to get back on track. Rich, I'm not going to let you miss your baseball game. Really appreciate you coming on. Obviously, the Reading Eagle, Rich, but where can they find you on Twitter? And then you're writing for a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah, at Nittany Rich, and the Penn State coverage appears in the Scranton Times Tribune, the Wilkes-Barre Citizen's Voice, the Hazleton Standard Speaker, the Pottsville Republican, the Allentown Morning Call, the Westchester Daily Local, the Delaware County Times, Pottstown Mercury, Norristown Times Herald. I'm probably missing one, and then of course the Reading Eagle. Sometimes the Trentonian too in New Jersey actually. So there's 12 papers.
You're eventually going to cover for the entire state. You're just slowly taking them.
It's crazy from when I started, where all these places had their own beat writers, and I'm like anything east of the Susquehanna, it's me. That's it. It's crazy.
Well, we're really glad to have you. Thank you so much.
Anytime you want me on, you got it.
Awesome. Safe travels while you're out there. Enjoy your time with your son.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Take
Yanks
care.
just took the lead too, so see
there we go.
Fantastic. Sean Kane, Rich Scarcella. What do you think?
Love it.
I think the Kyron Hudson point was a great one. I would not have remembered that or even brought that up tonight. So I'm glad he brought that up.
Yeah, Kyron Hudson, because like you said, it feels like even after that game, Pena's stock is up, Ross's stock is up. But there's been a lot of selling of Kyron Hudson stock in the past 2 weeks. So I would love to see him get back on track because he's that big body receiver that this team still really needs if we want to get the passing game going. Yeah,
I mean, again, I think Aller missed having a guy who could go up and get a ball for him in a situation where maybe somebody wasn't open. Welcome into the show, everybody. If you're watching live on YouTube, I see Brian was on here a little bit earlier. Please make sure you've liked the video and you've subscribed on the channel. If you have any questions today, I'm just going to kind of do questions as I see them on YouTube. So please just let them shout. Again, the breaking news, linebacker Tony Rojas, from what we have gathered, has suffered an ACL injury during practice yesterday. I texted the fellas last night and ruined your guys' night sleeping. So you guys are welcome for that. I was right around, I was brushing my teeth, and I was like, by the way, this week is getting worse. So awful news for Tony Rojas. And Sean, a knee injury, last night I heard he was going to get an MRI this morning. So I think there's maybe more official news now, that has come out since. But a knee injury to a guy like Tony Rojas, an outside linebacker, a guy who is so explosive. I mean, it's obviously a kick in the nuts to the Penn State football team, to the defense, to the position that lacks the most depth, but also to a guy like Tony Rojas, who Rich said maybe would have gone pro this year. And again, missed spring last year due to a shoulder injury, and now is probably going to miss spring again. And that's huge development time for him to potentially, get ready for the next level, and obviously had the ability to play at the next level. So you're hoping he has a speedy recovery. You're hoping he's able to get it back together and be the Tony Rojas that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and a shoulder and knee injury. Two injuries you do not want to have. Anything with those joints. Thankfully, ACL surgery has gotten very, very good in the past 10, 15, even 5 years, where guys are able to come back and do it pretty quickly. But like Rich was saying, it'd be a little surprising if he's back by spring. Maybe he'll be doing some non-contact stuff. I'm sure he will be. But he's not going to be a full go until summer. And it really sucks for him because he was really coming on. I thought he played a really, really good game against Oregon. And I think he's looked good almost every game this year. So, really sucks for him. I hope and pray he has a quick recovery, and we're going to need him next year. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
is Campbell back next year, or is he gone?
I want to say he's gone.
Yeah, because I think the COVID guys are mostly out, and I'm pretty sure he's a senior. So
I will let you know in a second. I just wanted to mention too that talking about who would replace him, everyone's talking about he's technically a junior, so
okay, so he can come back
theoretically. But if he keeps having the year he's having, which he's like averaging 12 tackles a game, and now with Rojas out, he's probably going to average 35 tackles a game. I would not necessarily count on him being back. But people are asking who would, potentially fill the void. People want Keon Wiley to step up. People want maybe Anthony Specca to step up. But again, tonight, Dom DeLuca was penciled in by James Franklin. And then the next two names Franklin mentioned, Alex Tash, true freshman linebacker. And then also freshman linebacker Cam Smith from St. Joe's Prep. Who is a top 10 guy in the state of Pennsylvania. So, I mean, that's cool, but also very worrisome that we're already to that point of the depth of the linebacker. And again, I kind of tweeted this right before the show started, Sean. I'm labeling this episode part 2, right? Part 1 is over. Whiteout's over. We've got UCLA, Northwestern, Iowa, and Ohio State. That's kind of like part 2. And then part 3 will be Nebraska, Indiana, etc. But you wanted to come out of part 1 with a win against Oregon, and you needed to be healthy, and specifically healthy at the linebacker position, because I think that's a position we all penciled as the least amount of depth. Maybe defensive line or defensive tackle, but the linebacker is one we were all scared about the most. They were doing really good on both of those things. In fact, up until Oregon tied the game in the first round of the overtime, they were looking very well to accomplish both of those things. In the matter of hours or days, that has completely evaporated. And it just seems like the gut punches continue to come. And they've got to rally, Sean. They've got to rally. And maybe this is what this, not the injury per se, but maybe this is what the team needs to get on the road, come together as a team, and figure it out. Because they listened to the outside noise a little bit. Maybe they drank the Kool-Aid a little bit. Maybe the offensive line thought they had the Joe Moore road, tucked away already. And maybe this is and Katron Allen, when he was interviewed this week, said that. Maybe this is the ass kicking they kind of needed to figure out the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, you go out to LA and nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, am I right? And for all you TikTok people out there. But yeah, I mean, that's the hope, right? And I mentioned this earlier. Unfortunately, in the Franklin era, it doesn't seem like historically teams are very good at overcoming losses. As a matter of fact, usually goes the opposite way, except when Franklin's job is on the line. And then back in 2016, Penn State goes and wins the Big Ten. But I don't really feel, Corey, like James Franklin's job's really been on the line since then. And that's after the 2020, 2021 seasons where we weren't good. I never really thought Franklin's job was on the line during those 2 seasons. But I do this year if they're not able to turn it around in a big way. And yeah, I think adversity could sometimes drive teams closer. And something, too, that I can't get out of my head is this is still an experienced team, right? This is still most of the guys that have played in a Big Ten championship game before, that have played in a Final Four before. So they know how to get to those spots. Now, getting over the hump, that's still the big thing. But they know how to they know how to get to that spot. And what I mean by that is they could theoretically handle, I know we're in a want-to-know mentality, but they could theoretically handle an Iowa, even in Indiana, where you have the talent advantage and you should, on paper at least, go out and beat those teams.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Joe Rogers on YouTube. He says, we need to pound UCLA bad, not like an FIU blowout, like we're actually playing the full game. I still believe in this team. I'm pissed like everybody else. Drew has nothing to lose right now. I agree with you, Joe. Completely agree with you. The last thing I wanted to mention on UCLA, I mean, we'll talk way more about UCLA in a second, but one little note that I wanted to add before we maybe talk about the X's and O's. UCLA has now played 4 games. Players now can opt out if they want to keep their redshirt status. So there's potential for some more guys to bail out of this thing before Penn State even plays them. I saw the Tulane transfer running back that went to Oregon. Clearly Oregon doesn't need him because their 2 freshman running backs had good days against Penn State, but he's opted out before playing his 5th game. UCLA's last 4 games, 43-10 blowout, where this jackass here took UCLA to beat Utah. 30-23 loss to UNLV at UNLV. Then the when the wheels really started to fall off, the Friday night loss, blowout loss to New Mexico 35-10, and then they just lost at Northwestern 17-14. It's not good. It's not good there for UCLA. Sean, I want to go back to the press conference real quick because I do think we've had some rumors about it, but I think we can officially say that James Franklin listens and watches the show. I've never been more sure of that in my life because he was asked specifically about Drew Aller and option runs. And he said, quote, typically his game comes alive once he's been able to get a couple hits with his running game and make plays with his feet, end quote.
There you go.
Are we going to see quarterback blast on the first play of every drive? Are we about to get that?
just get your hit. and then we'll continue the drive and just watch from there. That's funny. I also wanted to mention from the Oregon game, because after we got off here, I was kicking myself, and I know we're moved on to UCLA, but I want to go
back. It's fine. Just pick up the
second.
scab. That's fine.
Why did we punt from the 36-yard line? It drove me nuts that night. It's still kind of driving me nuts why we didn't just kick the field goal. I think it was 4th and 7 or 4th and 8. So I get you're probably too far from to go for it. But why, after Barker just hit a 49-yarder, aren't we just going back a few yards to kick the field goal? I don't understand it.
I think it's because we had a 52-yarder blocked in the FIU game, and therefore that number specifically was just bad luck. If it was 53, they would have done it.
Well, if that's the case, Corey, it kind of goes back to another problem we have with Franklin, right? He tightens up in big spots, and he's like, Gabe, go punt.
I'm more upset about the play call on that 3rd down play where they ran the fake toss dive thing, and they didn't get any yards. I'm just like, again, let Aller.
I know what they're doing too. I know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get to 4th and 2 which is the dumbest thing that we consistently do all the time.
We do it all the time, and we don't do it well. Oregon does it all the time.
No.
And they did it very well. They literally, and I think Nate Bauer said this on Tuesday, they ran our game plan better than we've ever ran it. I mean, I distinctly remember, Sean, that would have been Drew Aller's first start at Ohio State, where they ran up the gut to Nick Singleton right around that same yardage, around the same part of the field, and it got blown up. And I think they punted as well. And you're just like, why did you do that if you were just going to punt anyway? If you're going to punt, you have to make the mind up like, okay, if I'm going to run this play and I don't get any yards, what am I going to do? And if your decision is to punt, then please, for the love of God, do something other than just like a very conservative play. Like Drew Aller is a third-year guy. If you give him a couple routes, maybe he won't be able to throw it for the first. Maybe he'll only be able to run it for 3 or 4 yards. But now we at least have a better field goal opportunity. Like, you got to let the senior and trust the senior to either convert or at least to set yourself up in a better situation. And the fact that they don't, alarm bells are constantly going off.
And if you knew you weren't going to be able to trust him to do that, then why did you ask him to come back?
Oh, man, we're getting deep tonight. Lambda on YouTube says first 2 plays on Saturdays is going to be a quarterback blast followed by 4 verticals. Who says no to that?
I'm good with it. We just totally throw out what we did last week and do the complete opposite. And I think that sounds great. Because I do agree with what the prior person said. Like, we got to go out and beat the stuffing out of UCLA this week. And if we don't, then I'm even more concerned than I was before.
Also, the last thing I'll say about the press conference, offensive line not changing. Franklin said they're rolling with the same guys. No changes there. People talked about, well, what about Cooper Cousins? All I can say is TJ Shannon's a backup guard.
Yep. I don't know what happened with Cooper Cousins, but his stock has suddenly plummeted for some reason.
Bad. Like GameStop.
Yeah, like where we don't play him. So take that for what you will.
I'm very disappointed this game isn't on Fox Sports 1 and Matt Millen isn't calling it, because I would love, and we would like to tease him here, but I would love for him to say UCLA's quarterback Nico Amamaliva, say his name just like once or twice, maybe even 3 times. Like, that would be the new Talia Tagovailoa. Like, that would have been fantastic. I don't think we're gonna get it.
That was a grind for him.
He was put into the meat grinder for sure on that.
Do you think Nestler and Danielson must be like, we are legends, and here we are at 0-4 UCLA? It feels like they always get the shaft with these games.
With Penn State games specifically, they will get Oregon, Indiana the following week.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really the Penn State games. Like, the Penn State 3:30 games have not been. The USC Penn State game was good, but it wasn't expected to be that good. But I will say this: there's something about the classic colors. Like Rich talked about it. Like, that was before you and I's time. But UCLA is a classic team, and seeing Penn State's blue and UCLA's blue and those gold helmets, like, it is pretty damn cool. Like,
2 of the best uniforms in the sport, yeah.
Right. And so I think that from an aesthetic perspective, which I know a lot of people don't care about, especially down south, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I was just mentioning Nico. He's been a shell of himself. 4 touchdowns, 3 picks on the year. He's also their leading rusher, 44 carries for 200 yards and 1 touchdown there. We talked about the linebackers, Sean. They're going to be challenged yet again because Nico is going to do quick passes. He's going to do read options. He's going to get the ball out quick. He's going to run. And they're going to be challenged. Nico is a good quarterback. I know everyone makes the jokes and stuff as far as him transferring from Tennessee. And I think he was actually in the same, if not the same seat, the same bus as Drew Aller as far as tightening up in big time situations. But he still has a cannon for an arm. He still can go make throws. He can hit out routes. He can stretch the field. I'm not saying you got to be nervous or anything like that, but with Dom DeLuca playing more snaps, with UCLA literally have nothing to lose, and we talked about Penn State maybe coming together as a team. UCLA has no reason and nobody to care about them at all, and they have nobody but each other as well. So they could already be done. They could have already, raised the white flag and called it a day, or they could get off the ground and fight here a little bit. So all I'm saying here is Penn State can't play with their food, and I'm curious how the linebackers will do against the quick passing read option game that UCLA has the blueprint from Oregon on what they need to do.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of when Penn State played Michigan State a couple of years ago after Mel Tucker got fired, and you just didn't know what you were getting from Michigan State week to week because the whole team had just been totally decimated and everybody's in and out of the door. But then UCLA is even crazier in a way because they have a defensive coordinator that wasn't even there 2 weeks ago as the defensive coordinator. And then they fire their offensive coordinator midweek, which basically never happens. And they have Rick Neuheisel's son as the interim offensive coordinator now, who is a legendary coach out there. So it's a real mess. But yeah, I mean, when you think of and as far as Nico goes, I think T. Frank said, and this is kind of a good comp. He said, watching UCLA's offense, it's like watching a horse with a bunch of donkeys. And I think that's kind of a good way to put it because you could see the talent, right? Like he was just in the playoffs last year. Now you could argue is one of the weaker part of their team, of Tennessee's team. But he still has that experience and he's been there before and he knows what a winning culture is. Obviously it has not translated at all at UCLA, but that's because of what he's got around him. So it's going to be, from everything that I've seen, this is our best chance to be able to get off the mat these next 2 weeks because we played the two worst teams in the Big Ten.
Couldn't come at a better time. I mean, by the end of Northwestern, the wheel of coping and moving on, like we could be all high on Penn State.
It's very possible. But and then you get Iowa, and I wish it was at Beaver Stadium. But you know something, Corey? It's kind of better that it isn't because we're gonna have a better idea of what this team is. And if we go out and we beat UCLA and Northwestern by 1,000,000 points, we'll be able to know if it was a mirage or not against Iowa. Because if we go out and blow out Iowa too, then I think people are excited again. So at least somewhat.
I would say so, for sure.
For Ohio State. I really do. I think that if they want to get the fans, and I know fans are secondary to everybody in the world right now, and they should be inside a lash. But if they want people excited again and talking about us, win games. And if you could beat a solid, what I think is a solid Iowa team, that's a good way to do it. And then people are feeling better going into Ohio State. And that's going to be, in all likelihood, a top 5 matchup then.
Yeah.
If you could believe that.
And I've heard Penn State has the best coach when it comes to those sort of matchups.
Oh, let me tell you, we got just the guy.
Also, and just another reason why I think Franklin does listen to our show. After my little rant there about him recruiting during the bye week and his excuses, he wanted to make sure everybody knew that he would also be recruiting on Friday night in LA. So there you have it.
Did he say that?
Yeah. I think he honestly maybe not watches the show, but he definitely, our little cut ups make their way to him somehow, some way, for sure.
Hey, I mean, we get a lot of traction on Twitter sometimes. So
quick housekeeping, the pick'em is out. Somebody just asked if it was out this week. It is. It's in the YouTube description. I just tweeted in case you missed it as well. So it's like at the very top of our Twitter thread right now is the form there. So make sure you fill that out. One last thing, Sean, on UCLA before we get to the pick'em and then our picks. I just wanted to mention Landon Tangwa brought this guy up, and I thought this hunk of a man should be talked about. Gary Smith III, defensive lineman there for UCLA, 340 pounds of just mass. Have a sack on the year, but more importantly, I think is going to be a good sort of like litmus test for like, okay, was it just Oregon, or can we do some things? Can we move some guys that just have weight? So that's one guy I'm paying attention to there on if they can do some things. And the last thing I just want to note, Sean, if there's ever an opportunity for Drew Aller to do something without feeling the risk of throwing picks, and I probably should knock on wood here, UCLA does not have an interception yet this year.
Perfect. Yeah. Just air it out. And and as the great Corey Geiger once said, chuck it deep.
Chuck it deep.
Which reminds me, Corey, guess the thing else we didn't talk about. Why aren't we doing that more?
Well, I mean,
do you think it's strictly offensive line? Like
I think a lot of it is.
Or...
I think they did try more. There was a play, I think it was to Rapplier, where Drew kind of like paused, didn't see anything. Then he rolled out and he threw it like really high out of bounds. But Rapplier, I think it was Rapplier in the area. Do you know that play I'm talking about? Or it was the Reynolds or Rapplier. It was on the far side.
Yeah, I don't even remember Rapplier getting in the game on Saturday.
He was in there. He was on there. He's actually in there for the touchdown pass to Ross.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, besides that, there was a times where I think they tried to take shots and they didn't. Part of that was because of how much Oregon ran zone versus man. And I think that surprised them, I think is what T. Frank was talking about. But I do think they took a couple opportunities. Is it enough? Can they block enough? Are the guys getting open? Does Aller want to throw a 50-50 ball? I don't know. But Is it probably enough? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would like to see more, and I know it seems pretty obvious that it's a throw that Drew just doesn't seem comfortable with, partly because historically he hasn't been awesome at it, but also we're kind of judging that by he doesn't attempt them enough, because there are 50-50 balls that he's completed before, but he just doesn't take enough shots.
Absolutely. Sean, you ready to get into the pick'em here?
Let's. Corey, I don't think we did this last week. I think we were LTFI on Oregon.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe we were more focused on some people. Some people. I assume we're all on Michigan over Wisconsin.
We are. Wisconsin is very bad.
I'm assuming we're all on Illinois over Purdue.
We are.
Interesting one. Washington at Maryland. September's over technically for everybody that's like on the September train of Maryland and keeping. I mean, nobody falls back like Maryland does on daylight savings than Maryland. I will say this though, we have not technically fallen back. Maybe it's not a calendar thing. Maybe it's specifically a daylight savings thing, and we have not flipped the clocks back yet. I don't even know when we do that. Is it this upcoming weekend? Is it in 2 weekends? I don't know.
I think right now, weeks,
okay. Right now, Maryland is 4-0, but they're 6.5-point dogs to Washington. Who are you taking, Sean?
Give me the dogs, the Huskies.
Okay, going with Washington. Did you see Jed Fish, by the way, say that the Washington-Ohio State game had the same feel as the Penn State-Oregon game? Did you happen to catch that?
I did. He like, you talk about unlikability, and he gets on my nerves more than almost any coach in the Big Ten. Like, did you? And I'm sure you watched some of the Ohio. Well, you may not have because you were at the game. So Washington gets a sideline penalty,
okay,
which kind of seemed like BS because they didn't even do a warning. Then Jed Fish runs out on the field and gets penalized again. So those are two 15-yard penalties, and they're backed up to their goal line already. And it's like I think I would have lost my mind if that was Franklin. Like, just keep your composure. And I just feel like he's always on the verge of just exploding.
Well, the good news is that he doesn't yell at the officials. He just yells at students in the crowd. So we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, very true. Yes.
I'm gonna take Maryland to win. I'm gonna test.
Oh no!
I'm gonna test this whole. Is it the end of September where Maryland begins to stink, or is it just before daylight savings? We got to figure this out for science. And I like Malik Washington. He just got a big Pepsi deal. I think it was Pepsi. I don't know. Why not? I'm going with random things that I know that I see that I happen to catch. Malik Washington. He got 2 new deals. He got like a local pizza deal and he got like a Pepsi deal. So good for him.
Corey's on top of these NIL deals.
This whiteboard is just NIL deals in the Big Ten. That's what I write up on it. UL Monroe at Northwestern. Northwestern's an 11.5 point favorite. I don't know very much about UL Monroe at all. I guess I'm going to take Northwestern.
Me too.
But I don't feel great about it, to be honest with you.
No, I might take the Raging Cajuns, but I don't know anybody on their team, so.
Not the Raging Cajuns. They are the Warhawks.
They're not the Raging Cajuns anymore?
Louisiana Lafayette is the Raging Cajuns.
Oh, I don't even have their nickname right. So
you don't even. That's not good. Now I feel like you're disrespecting them, and they're going to come out and blow us out.
It's like when Belichick called Central Florida Central. Exactly.
So if you're listening to this and you haven't made your pick 'em yet, maybe switch it to the Warhawks. You need to live in the South for a little bit, so you get your not so good Southeast schools down, Sean.
Raging Cajuns is an awesome name, though.
It is. Michigan State at Nebraska. Michigan State 3-1. Nebraska 3-1. I am going to take Matt Rule, potential future head coach of Penn State.
Yeah, your next coach. Might as well. Yeah, if he becomes the coach, that means Raiola is probably coming with him. Are we ready for that? Are we ready for fake Mahomes?
Well, he only has 11 touchdowns and 1 pick right now. I mean, he might be trying to go to the NFL. We'll see how it goes. I don't know.
I know a quarterback he reminds me a lot of. Just looks. Well, I know a quarterback's brother that he
15?
Looks a lot like.
Are you thinking
Jackson.
He reminds you of Drew Aller?
Sure. Really, honestly, a tough game to predict. I'm going to go Sparty. Why not?
Whoa. Okay. I mean, you're on top of the leaderboard, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm going to go Sparty.
Not so many tough games this week, though, because we wrap up here. Minnesota at Ohio State. This is the NBC game at 7:30. Minnesota is 3-1, 1-0. They did get a good win against Rutgers, I think by 3. But probably remember, Sean, this is the best pass offense that PJ Fleck's ever had. Do you think they're able to throw the ball over the yard in the shoe? I almost said the big house.
No. No, I do not. Remember when Franklin got the big house in the shoe? Confused.
Oh yeah. See, that was before the 2022 game. See, I think he does get a little tight.
Yeah, that was before was that 2022 or 2021? I don't remember.
I think it was 2022 out there at Michigan, because I don't know why, but there was the same press conference talking about how they were doing things different with the bye week, and Manny was there, and
yeah, he looked exhausted that day too. I think we were coming off a loss. Yeah, but anyway, I'm taking Ohio State. Ohio State's defense looks like the best in the country. I can't believe Matt Patricia's a good defensive coordinator at Ohio State. I was thinking that could really blow up in their face, but he's been very, very good.
Nothing blows up in their face. Just
no, it never does. Never does.
The last time something's blown up in their face was when they had all those. They got in trouble for selling tattoos for memorabilia or getting tattoos for memorabilia. Like that was.
And what was? Yeah, and they had 1 7-5 year, and then they were great again.
Yeah.
Like,
and by the way, like if I was him, I would be totally fighting that because that should not have resulted in the amount of stuff that it resulted in.
No.
That was insane.
Lost his job over it and never coached again.
And now I guess he's decided not to run for governor. I saw that the other day.
He is not. He is still the lieutenant governor out there.
Okay. Penn State, UCLA. I think I'm up first.
I think you are.
So I'll go first. Everything we talked about, Penn State going on the road. Maybe they have some unification out there. Maybe they find themselves. I don't know. All I know is that UCLA is really awful. And their new DC, the defensive analyst from Syracuse, likes a lot of man coverage. I think Drew Aller is actually a lot better against mediocre teams in man coverage. I'm thinking about like the Maryland games and where his guys can win, and it's obvious to him where he's supposed to go with the football. And so I think Penn State wins. They've got to get the running game going as well. This would be the massive red flag, just bury us if we can't run the ball in UCLA. And so I'm going to take Penn State to win. I'm going to take them to win 35-10. I believe the spread is at 25.5. So I guess not a cover, which they're 0-4 against the spread. So I feel pretty good about this. 35-10, I'm taking Penn State to win. My bold prediction. I think I saw somewhere, I don't know the exact statistic, but it's something about Drew Aller not throwing for 250 yards in I don't know how many games. I might look that up in a second, but I think Drew Aller gets over 250 yards. I think this is a game that happens, and we're excited. Let me just look that up real quick. He has, if we go by the game logs here, obviously not this year. He has not done. 217 was his best. In 2024, his best was he had 247, which is just rude. He has not thrown for more than 250 yards since USC, which wouldn't that be perfect to finally go over 250 yards? And maybe he should just, come out here to California more often. So that's my prediction. Drew Aller over 250 yards. He hasn't done that since at USC on October 12th. So almost a year ago to the date.
Given the term West Coast offense, a whole new meaning.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, so I am taking Penn State to win this one. Is it a bold prediction to pick Penn State to cover, since they have not done that at all this year? I feel like that's almost medium on the bold scale at this point. But
it's a little sizzling.
Yeah, I think Penn State does get back on track a little bit this week. And a lot of it is UCLA struggles with struggles defending what we've been struggling doing on offense. So they are not very good against the run, as has been explained. And really my real bold prediction is Nick Singleton goes over 100 yards. I think we see him kind of reemerge. And part of that is I do expect the offensive line to look better. And we have talked before about the offensive line doesn't necessarily need to be doing awesome for K-Tron to play well, but they need to be doing at least a good job for Singleton. So taking Penn State to win this one 38-10. And yeah, bold prediction is Nick goes over 100 yards rushing. That's not including what it be doing catching the ball.
I wanted to go Nick Singleton again, but I just felt like I felt dirty for double dipping after I said he was going to have 150 against Oregon, and he had like 12. Mark Thomas, this is a great way to wrap up the show. Mark Thomas on YouTube. Nick Singleton over 100 yards. He's going to have 70 touches.
He's still explosive, guys. And I know, has anybody been as hard on Singleton as me? I feel like the whole year I have been, but he still has that explosivity. It's still there. I don't buy into the theory that he's gotten slow because, as I've said before, this is Nick sometimes. If those holes aren't there, he looks a lot slower because he's just not able to get going. But I think those holes will be there, and I think he'll be able to run through enough of them to get to 100.
There you have it. Thank you, Mark, for showing up here at the end. Again, guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And if you're watching live, make sure that you've liked the video. If you're listening on podcast platform, do me two things. Number one, please make sure you're subscribed. A lot of people think they're subscribed, and it's actually just recommending it to them. Make sure you've hit subscribe or follow if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever else. If you're on Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review. We'll read it on the show. We haven't got one for about 3-4 weeks, so we would like to read one on the show. And if you're on Spotify, you can just drop us a 5-star rating. Mudbug commented on our podcast episode on Spotify, and I responded to him the other day. So I appreciate you, Mudbug, and make sure, of course, you do your pick'ems as well. Thank you guys so much for listening and for watching. That's Sean Kane. I'm Corey Listoki. You have been hearing from Hardcore Penn State Football. Until next week, bye, everybody.
Have a good night.